1 week's time, and the reason why I say less than is because it's fewer than like the exact point of 3 p.m. But we'll be speaking with Omar Khan, and we'll be at the NFL Combine. We will be in Indianapolis. I will be, but we will be. We're a team here.
Yeah.
We will be in Indianapolis.
I will just, try to project my presence. have some Giordano's for me while I'm there. I'll put it that way.
See, here's the thing, though. Like, I'm going to have a blast out there. I know that already. And I already know the what is waiting for me in the form of shrimp cocktail at Sam Elmo's. But I think the thing, honestly, aside from the job aspect of it that I'm looking forward to is staying with my aunt and uncle out there. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of family time out there as well. Good afternoon, everybody. A happy Tuesday, February 20th. Chris's dog has entered the chat as well.
Making himself known.
Welcome to the Southside Beat. Welcome to the Southside Beat. That is Chris Halicke. I am Corey Crisan. It's funny enough that somebody named Chad put it in our comment section. Russ is coming to Pittsburgh, meeting Russell Wilson, because that was, I believe it was Chad Johnson Ocho Cinco that put out there into the universe that he heard from a little birdie that Russell Wilson was going to be a Steeler. I don't know if that's accurate or if that's, meritable, but something to note, I guess. But if you look at the odds, I guess, within the quarterback realm, I think everybody is going to be the Steelers starting quarterback next year.
Everybody is.
Right. Everybody is. And I just mentioned, as you were checking on the dog there, Chad in our comments says, Russ is coming to Pittsburgh. That's a rumor that is now gaining more steam because of Chad Johnson, of all people. So, I don't know. We'll see. But regardless of quarterback talk,
somebody is going to be right one way or the other.
If you put out every rumor that's in the bag, if you put them all out there yourself, eventually you will be right. You will eventually have it correct. And you could say I had it correct, but you kind of just sprayed spaghetti all over the wall and saw what stuck. And, if something sticks, then, good for you, I guess.
It's just somebody will be right. I was mentioning this, like, during these rumors, like literally, it's like, okay, which quarterbacks haven't been tied to the Steelers just yet, or now that Justin Fields is starting to gain more and more traction, what other quarterback can we talk about so that they get more and more into the fold? And it's just, like I said, guys, we talked about this yesterday. It is only Tuesday. Like, we got the whole rest of this week to talk about all these rumors. Rumors are going to continue to spread. Chad, I own a golden retriever, so he sounds a lot meaner than he actually is.
Yeah. Bark way louder than the bite.
He's a good watchdog. He's not a good guard dog. He will let you know when somebody's there, and that's about it. But no, it's that's Russell. See, there you go. That's going to be the trade right there. The trade right there. Pat Mahomes going to the Steelers.
Yeah, there you go, Barb. Here's a good one for Barb. The Steelers will sign a free agent and draft a few rookies. It's a good one. I like that. I like that a lot. And I don't think his dog is Air Bud, Pittsburgh Hornets. I don't think Chris's dog is Air Bud. Unless it is, then, I don't know. Yeah, there you go. Mike in Texas starting the Aaron Rodgers. See, look, anybody can do it. That's the point I think we're trying to make.
It's just like, I'm not saying that there is absolutely no chance at all that there's no truth at all to any of these rumors. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that everybody is going to see. Here we go, Captain Kirk. I mean, just like if one of these
comes and plays wide receiver, I guess.
If anybody other than Mason Rudolph, and I'm talking about any of these names, I'm talking about Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo, Desmond Ridder. If any of these guys are ever actually acquired by the Steelers, then somebody is going to be right. Do I think that any of that's going to happen? No, probably not. The chances are far down, but let's just operate under the assumption that what we know right now is the Steelers' plan is Kenny Pickett. They're committed to him, but they're not so committed to just blindly hand him the reins in 2024 and say, "Hey, buddy, it's your year, uncontested, nobody. Nobody's going to get in your way." No, they want to sign Mason Rudolph. They know Mason Rudolph can push Kenny Pickett. If Mason Rudolph doesn't work out, Ryan Tannehill is a legitimate option. And then if the price is right, maybe the Steelers do try to pull a trigger on a trade for Justin Fields, but only if the price is right. They're not going to mortgage their future for a first-round quarterback when they already have a first-round quarterback on their roster. Anything else is just like, okay, yeah, we're starting to get to the Star Wars universe, man. My God.
Wrong answers only. See Shadows says Shane Falco, a quarterback. I mean, that's, hey, put that out there if you want to. The like eyeball emoji I tweeted on Saturday. So I covered the Pitt basketball game Saturday, and they showed Tyler Boyd on the Jumbotron, like in his Pitt gear, and, showed a Pitt towel and everything. And like, the zoo went wild. Everybody went wild. And I was like, all I have to do is take a photo of this and tweet out an eyeball emoji and let the internet do its thing. And sure enough, the internet did its thing. And now it's like, oh my gosh, he's home. He's visiting. He's looking at the Steelers. It's like, no, I mean, he's from here. He played football at Pitt, went to Clareton High School. Like, I don't know. I think he's just home for a little bit of a break. Shohei Ohtani at quarterback. That's the best one right there, David. So that's how things get going. In 1 week's time, though, the NFL Combine will convene in Indianapolis, both at Lucas Oil Stadium and the Indianapolis Convention Center. And Omar Khan will speak in public 1 week from today, 10:30 Eastern, next Tuesday. Location still to be determined as far as I'm concerned. But, this is where the wheels get turning. And this is not just for the Steelers. This is for Caitlin Clark. Good one. Good one, Brent. She has the range, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And this is where the wheels get turning for these teams. This is where all the GMs, all the people that, lack of a better phrase here, matter will be. This is where all of the talk begins. This is where things get going. Think of this as like almost like the winter meetings in baseball in terms of executives. This is where the who's will be. And look, I was reading up on stuff this week about, the Bears, for example. If the Steelers are really in the Justin Fields sweepstakes, the Bears are going to be looking at their plans this week for what they're going to do at quarterback. And they're going to have a contingency plan going into Indianapolis about, Drake May or Caleb Williams or whoever it is, or if it is Justin Fields. And by the way, it's pretty clear to say that Omar Khan and Ryan Poles will bump shoulders or see each other or be in the same room at minimum. Of course, the GM for the Bears too. So like, yeah, this is where the wheeling and dealing starts. This is where everything will start. And for all of the talk of the rumors that we've somewhat covered and somewhat made fun of over the last couple of weeks here, this is where things will actually start to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would be shocked if any kind of actual deal is made at the Combine. I think that's the big difference between something like this and something like you mentioned, like the winter meetings. There are actual deals that get done, obviously, during the winter meetings. This is, teams are going in there not with the intention of, or the primary intention, I'll put it that way, of, hey, let's talk with other teams and see what's out there. They're there to primarily look at what matters with the draft. They're there to talk with prospects. They're there to meet and have formal meetings, informal meetings, and to have, meetings with each other. And the Steelers will be fully, they'll be fully like cocked and loaded and ready to go when it comes to, having everybody there to talk to everybody. But yes, it would not surprise me at all if Omar Khan has, number one, already chatted up, with the Bears and try to see what's there or what the asking price is if they are willing to trade Justin Fields, which there's every indication that the Bears are at least willing to do that, given them having the number one overall pick. But it wouldn't surprise me if something gains a little bit more traction next week. But again, I don't see the Steelers pulling this off, or specifically with the Justin Fields trade. I don't see that happening unless the price is right. I don't see them giving a first round pick. Mm-hmm. I don't really even see them giving a second round pick. The second round pick seems to be the bar right now, at least in terms of external, speculation when it comes to what it would take to acquire Justin Fields. I don't see the Steelers giving that up, not in this draft, not when they have the needs that they have to address, both in the short term and the long term. I think that they want to at least take advantage of those things. Now they have 2 4th-round picks, and they'll be back-to-back picks. Mm-hmm. So maybe they can, like, if for whatever reason the Bears say, yeah, we'll give you Justin Fields for a 3rd and maybe like a 5th next year. maybe the Steelers say, okay, that's enough. Like we can do that. And then we'll figure things out with Fields and Pickett. I'm just saying, I don't think, and Damon says that here, says DK Fields is not a possibility. I don't think it's going to happen. I agree. I agree with that. However, I'm just saying that Omar Khan is a little bit more of he's a little bit of a different GM than what we're used to, under Kevin Colbert. And that's not a slight on Kevin Colbert. He has a lot of skins on the wall, and he's got, 2 Super Bowl trophies to show for it. But I'm just saying, never say never when it comes to this kind of stuff. You don't know what Omar Khan's like. Yeah, I'm not doing a first or second round pick. Not going to happen. Not even going to think about it. But if the Bears all of a sudden come to them and say, hey, what about a third and, whatever else? And Omar's like, you never know. I'm just saying, do I think it's going to happen? No. I'm going to reiterate that over and over again. I'm just saying, do I think it's an absolute 0%, 0.00000% chance? No, I don't think that either.
The majority of what we are discussing is rumors. It's things floated out there by people speculating. The actual concrete information, if you want to call it that, is the stuff we can go off of with what Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney have said.
Yep.
And what has happened so far, which is, well, as far as what's happened so far, it's nothing, because they're kind of in this dead period after the Super Bowl. And this is, like I said, where the wheeling and dealing starts, so to speak. Now, with you, I don't think any major deals are going to get done Combine week. I think there are bigger priorities to address for just about every team. But these are where the conversations at least start. This is where the feet get into the door. This is where the toes go into the water. This is, if Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney develop a plan going into next week, going into Indianapolis, of we're going to poke Ryan Poles' ear. We're going to poke, Minnesota's ear about Kirk Cousins. We're going to go poke ears about quarterbacks. All right, they're going to do that, but they're not going to sit there and just start swinging picks, around, and they're not going to start dealing and making trades and finalizing things Combine week. That's just not what that week is about. It's about scouting. It's about developing a plan for the draft. And, when you think about just that entire communal aspect of it, yeah, it makes total sense for Omar Khan and whoever might be there for the Steelers to approach other teams and say, hey, what do you got? Or, hey, what do you think? Or what's your price? And then, yeah, like you said, if it matches up, maybe they do it. Maybe they even don't. The prices could match up and they just don't pull the trigger on it.
Yeah.
And that happens. That is fully acceptable for that to happen. But, let's not forget all of these other teams. There's 31 other teams planning the same way the Steelers are planning. So if teams are looking at the Steelers, and by the way, I don't think the Steelers have much, if at all, if any leverage when it comes to talks and trades for quarterbacks. So, if I'm an opposing GM, you have to look at the situation the Steelers are in too.
Not that the Bears are necessarily have all of their leverage either. I mean, everybody knows that they have the first overall pick in the draft, and they know, and all of these other teams know that they could very, very well take whoever they think is the best quarterback in this draft. Therefore, everybody could be like, we know you're getting a quarterback. Why would I part with a first round pick just so you can get rid of the quarterback that you already have? So there's it's not like the Bears have all the leverage in the world either, which is why I don't think any team will be willing to part with a first round pick. There might be a team or two that are willing to part with a second round pick. I don't think the Steelers are one of those teams. And one thing I keep seeing is everybody bringing something up about how Justin Fields' turnovers and everything like that would drive Tomlin crazy. Listen, if you think that the Steelers would make a trade for Justin Fields, you think that Mike Tomlin wouldn't sign off on that?
Right.
I mean, let's be real here. Yes, Mike Tomlin is very, very much a stickler about not giving the ball to the other team, about protecting the football. He wants to protect the football on offense, and he wants to take the ball away on defense. That is very, very much Mike Tomlin. But Mike Tomlin is not some first or second year head coach where the GM has all of the power and the head coach has none. Mike Tomlin will absolutely have a pull or a say in whether that trigger is actually pulled if a trade for Justin Fields is a real possibility. That's why whenever you see the clips from the Ohio State Pro Day of Mike Tomlin being infatuated with Justin Fields, that's why it could be a very real possibility, because regardless of what Justin Fields has done in his first 3 seasons in the NFL, Mike Tomlin might just like him no matter what. And if Mike Tomlin likes him, he may end up giving his approval. If Omar approaches Tomlin and says, hey, there's a possibility that we could line up in terms of asking price with the Bears on Justin Fields. What do you think? Tomlin could be like, if it matches up with the asking price, bring him here. Like it could just be that way. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, in terms of like that portion of it, like Tomlin would never deal with that because of all the turnovers and everything like that. Believe me, Tomlin will have a say in whether that trade is actually made or not.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a bit of a catch-22 to getting a Justin Fields because on one hand, I think the Steelers need picks and assets, and I think they need to use those to build a strong rookie young draft class. On the other hand, they need a quarterback, and that's the most important position in sports. Mm-hmm. And they need and Justin Fields would be an upgrade over Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph.
And I don't think
Ryan Tannehill or any other rookie.
And I don't think anybody would disagree that Justin Fields has a higher ceiling than Kenny Pickett.
Sure.
I think Kenny Pickett might have a higher floor than Justin Fields, but Fields definitely has a higher ceiling than Kenny. Mm-hmm. Kenny's a little bit limited in what he can do. He might be able to turn into a tier 2 type quarterback, but I think everything would have to align for that to happen. Justin Fields has the capability of becoming a superstar. It's just you got to fix a lot of other stuff in order for you to get to that level.
I think he can be very good. I don't know how good, but I think he can be very good. But I also still think, and again, I'll keep saying it, I still think I want to see Kenny Pickett with a coordinator that's not Matt Canada. Like, I think that's a fair thing to say for Kenny Pickett. Now, obviously, the Steelers feel some kind of way about that because they are willing to keep him here and give him another shot and at least compete. So we'll see what happens within that position. But regardless, this is where I
horribly disagree with that one right there.
Yeah, Darwin, I don't know. I think Justin can read defenses.
I even in the little bit of film that I watch on Justin Fields, I watched him go through. I can point out a specific play against the Falcons in which he literally went through 5 reads in one play. And it was one of those concepts where it literally is reading left to right, which is always a quarterback friendly because you're not having to look this way then this way. You literally just scan across the field. No. Okay, yes. I mean, no, he can absolutely read defenses. The biggest issue with Justin Fields, in my opinion, is protecting the football. He's got a few other issues, to go on top of it, but protecting the football is the big one with Justin.
Yep. All right, let's get to a few questions here. I really appreciate this. Russell asks, is there any defensive lineman you think the Steelers are interested in the draft and free agency? Just from looking from the Senior Bowl, I think the more likely route is the draft when it comes to adding depth in the defensive line room. It's not, but if you could get one of those guys in the second or third rounds, like they did with Benton,
possibly, yeah.
Like Tavondre Sweat to me is a stereotypical Steelers nose tackle. He's got the size. I think he's got good strength. I was pretty impressed by what I saw from him at the Senior Bowl. I think Brown from Duke is pretty good too. Like, I think there's some good linemen in this draft, and I don't know if they're going to spend one. Of course, Murphy from Texas as well. I don't know if they're going to spend a first-round pick on one, but if they can go back into that well like they did with Keanu Benton, and they could find, that second, maybe even a third rounder that's kind of being overlooked, yeah, I don't see why not. I don't know about in free agency. I think free agency would be more about cornerbacks or safeties or linebackers. Because that, quite frankly, worked for them, and that's pretty good history for them there. So,
yeah, I think in terms of free agent, defensive line. I mean, there's a lot of good defensive linemen coming out, or at least in the free agent class. The problem is a lot of those guys are going to be way too expensive, more money than the Steelers can afford to pay. Not unless they were to somehow just be able to dump the entire Larry Ogunjobi contract on somebody else. I just don't see that happening. And then also not only Ogunjobi, but find a way to extend Cam Hayward or something to lower that cap hit for this season. I don't see that happening. I think if the Steelers are going to pay any kind of top dollar, it'll be for a cornerback. I don't see them paying top dollar at linebacker. What's his face? Cashman from Houston is an interesting name to me in free agency. Had a really good year in Houston last year. I think that's a guy who they could afford to bring in and could partner really well with Cole Holcomb in the middle, with Landon Roberts being the third guy. if you're looking to possibly upgrade a little bit over Quan Alexander, somebody with a little bit more of a future than Quan Alexander, and that's nothing against Quan. He was a great player for the Steelers last year. Really, really, really good find, at the beginning of training camp, and then turned into a productive linebacker for them. So I keep seeing all this stuff around Justin, like in the comments around Justin Fields not protecting the ball. I'll just reiterate again, that trade doesn't happen without Tomlin signing off on it. So if Tomlin signs off on it, he's okay with bringing Fields in, regardless of the 30 picks and however many fumbles to go along with it. So that means that would then mean that Tomlin is confident in their ability to limit those things in Arthur Smith's offense. So you can be concerned about the turnovers all you want. I'm just saying that Tomlin would sign off on that if that trade happened. But I would see cornerback. I saw somebody in my live queues today bring up the guy from the center from Denver. That would be an interesting signing too, but I think that's more of a high dollar signing. That's definitely. I mean, listen, dude. Yes, that's what we keep saying. Anytime we're talking about this Justin Fields stuff, we absolutely know what's like. Go read my column on DKPittsburghSports.com right now. Like, it's not about what I think. It's about anything like that. Yes, I know. Rooney said he wants Mason back. I know the Steelers. I am not pushing any kind of narrative saying that the Steelers should trade for Justin Fields. I am saying that if that trade were to happen, Tomlin would be signing off on it. Yes, the most likely, I'll just reiterate again, the most likely option for the Steelers at quarterback is to re-sign Mason Rudolph. That would be if they had things their way. They want to re-sign Mason Rudolph, have their quarterback room be led by Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, and have those two guys compete. If Mason doesn't re-sign, next most likely option is Ryan Tannehill. Just saying. Like, I know all of this stuff. I am not pushing any kind of Justin Fields stuff. I keep saying it. I don't think a Justin Fields trade is going to happen. I'm just saying that if that does happen, Mike Tomlin isn't being kept in the dark on that. All I'm saying.
Yeah. By the way, I meant Dwayne Carter out of Duke, not Brown. I was looking up defensive tackles earlier today, and I saw Roderick Brown out of North Texas, and those two guys got mixed up in my head. So there you go. Correction on that. There's so many angles the Steelers can take for the quarterback route, but I also think they're pretty clear as to what they're going to do. And a lot of it hinges on what Mason Rudolph does. And that's Mason Rudolph's decision to make. Let's not forget either. What is the news with Deontay Johnson's future in question? Is that clickbait, or did Yins hear anything? I don't think Deontay Johnson is going anywhere. Deontay has known to be cryptic on social media in the past. This is nothing new. I don't think there's any animosity building up between him and the organization whatsoever. Now, if he's going to hold in, so to speak, for more money, that's a different prerogative. But I don't think there's going to be much. I don't think there is much friction between Deontay and the Steelers, at least added from what we've already seen from him when it comes to disputing value and disputing contracts and all of that. So. Yeah, that's the way I see Deontay right there.
I don't see Deontay getting traded either. Again, not unless they plan on trading him away and then signing a guy in free agency like a Tyler Boyd or something, or somebody like that. I don't see that happening. They need to add to that room, not take away from it. And I think, for whatever reason, there is a double standard when it comes to the way fans value Kenny Pickett versus the way fans value Deontay Johnson. I don't know why. There are a lot of fans that are, believing that Kenny should get a crack in the third year and that Deontay should be traded. And, I don't see that. If Deontay wasn't productive under and it's the coordinator thing. Like, so when it comes to Kenny, people want to blame the coordinator. When it comes to Deontay, they want to blame Deontay. It's like it's one or the other. You can't have both. So I don't think Deontay is getting traded. I regardless of all the rumors and everything like that about there being internal division, Deontay is going to play for whoever the quarterback is. He's going to play. I mean, that's just the way it is. And yeah, it's that simple. These rumors are starting to make my head swirl around, dude. Like, I feel like I'm caught in some sort of,
it's a bit much
rumor vortex and I can't get out of it.
Well, look, I don't want to like paint this in such a bad picture here, but when the Steelers haven't won a playoff game in so long and they're floating,
people are frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it. Point is, people are angry. People are, well, this should be a Super Bowl contending franchise year in and year out. And I get it. The standard is the standard as it's told. But there's also a process and a business to follow and a model to follow. And you have to hit the draft, which the Steelers haven't in recent memory, except for maybe 2023. We'll see. You have to hit the quarterback position, which as of right now, the Steelers have not. With the 2022 draft and some poor planning with an exit of Big Ben. You have to hit on free agent signings, which they did a little bit in 2023, but like, okay, when you don't hit the draft, you don't hit the quarterback thing, everything else kind of falls in line behind that. So, I understand the frustration. I understand they haven't won a playoff game in X amount of years. And look, dare I say, if the quarterback depth chart next year is Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, that's underwhelming. That's all right. That's not an upgrade. That's not telling me anything. And if Mason Rudolph is marginally better than Kenny Pickett has been these last 2 years, all right, fine. But does that make the Steelers a contender? Probably not.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in this middle ground right now. The Steelers are, in my opinion, where, yeah, you could break the bank and go get Kirk Cousins, or you could trade for Justin Fields, but you're going to have to give up more assets or capital to do it. And I don't think the Steelers are in a position to do that. They need to make sure they get the draft right. They need to make sure they scout the right quarterback. And now they need to make sure that Arthur Smith is the right guy to be the offensive coordinator. There's a lot, is what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that needs to go right this offseason for the Steelers, for them to become a contender again. Yes, they made the postseason. Yes, they squeaked in. I get it. And it's kind of easy by this point. It's almost a 50-50 shot to make the postseason in a conference, right? And you just have to be in the top half of your conference to make the postseason. Like, all right, look, Darwin, he says you can't say that Mason is not the answer. Give him an offseason with this offense. That's fine, but I think you could say the same about Kenny Pickett. Give him an offseason to learn Arthur Smith's offense. Give him an offseason to strength train and grow and get healthy. What if Kenny Pickett comes back and he's 2021 Kenny Pickett? Like, what if? We could say what if all we want about Mason Rudolph. We could say what if all we want about Justin Fields and Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson and Bo Nix and any other rookie quarterback. But we can also say what if about Kenny Pickett. Yeah, B. Phil, I understand. B. Phil says I don't trust Kenny. I understand why you might not trust Kenny Pickett. But what if? You can apply what if to any of these quarterbacks, And yeah, I get it. What we saw from Mason Rudolph at the end of the year was something unprecedented. We didn't expect it, and it was refreshing in a way. But does he resign here, number one? Number two, does he gel with the Smith offense? Number three, does he beat Kenny Pickett out in training camp for the starting job if all of that falls in line?
I just got to say, Rick, that is everything about that is wrong. Everything. Rick says Deontay drops easy passes, runs backwards with a lot of negative locker room attitude. Drops are what they are, but in terms of in terms of like drop percentage and stuff like that, with how often he's targeted, he doesn't really drop the ball that much. The running backwards thing, it happens every now and then, but show me a receiver that doesn't run backwards trying to make something happen. If that's his biggest problem, especially when you actually look at the numbers of what he does after the catch, again, he's still productive after the catch overall. And then, dude, I've got an article. I'll try to put it in the link. I'll try to put it here in the live chat. I've got an article that literally has numbers to completely refute that. I'm just saying, like that's just it's the same thing with the jet sweeps. Everybody thought the jet sweep was like the worst freaking thing that possibly happened in this offense, and actually it wasn't all that bad. It's just you remember all of the bad and like none of the good. That's pretty much the way it is. And then when it comes to the negative, that the worst part of that is the negative attitude in the locker room. That is I have a lot of evidence of that. That's just not the case at all.
I would love to pose a question here. Okay. If the Steelers trade Deontay Johnson this offseason, and that's a big if, it won't happen.
Covering for him at all. Giving you the truth, man. It's the truth.
If the Steelers trade Deontay Johnson, and that's a big if, Okay, hypothetically speaking, what's the plan at wide receiver? Are we going to sit here at the end of February and confidently say George Pickens can slot in and be a number one? Athletically gifted, absolutely. Technically gifted, not so much. Like, he's good, don't get me wrong. He's a good wide receiver, but he still has to grow. He still has room to go. And right now, the Steelers are probably going to get rid of Allen Robinson to shed money, and they have Calvin Austin sitting behind him. Do you feel good about Calvin Austin, George Pickens, and a free agent or a rookie? B. Phil says wide receivers are fine. I disagree. I think there could be an upgrade made there. I think there's definitely an upgrade to be made there, especially once Allen Robinson's off the books. If Tyler Boyd is a free agent signing, that's an upgrade. If they draft a wide receiver, let's say it's day 2, that's an upgrade. They need to upgrade the receiver position. So my point is, and I'll go back to what B-Field said, the wide receivers are fine. If the Steelers trade Deontay Johnson, will the wide receivers room still be fine? No, it will not. Sorry, it will not. The reality of the situation is no, it will not. So if the Steelers are going to bring back Kenny Pickett and compete with Mason Rudolph and have all of this going on, in the receivers room is a rookie, George Pickens, and Calvin Austin, do you feel good about that? I don't. So think of the other side of the coin too. Deontay Johnson is kind of the glue that holds all of this together right now. The Steelers need Deontay Johnson as much as any other team does. In fact, more than most teams do, I would say. So look, yeah, he might not be a bona fide one, and that's fine. He doesn't put up, Megatron numbers, and that's fine. But he is a weapon for this offense. He is incredibly useful and incredibly necessary for this offense to function. I think that's the thing that gets lost for a lot of people. So yeah, the Steelers need Deontay Johnson. The Steelers have to keep Deontay Johnson in the building at least this year. Bring back Gunnar. Anthony, come on. Come on. Anthony says, bring back Gunnar Olszewski. Come on. Point is. So that's where I'm at with Deontay Johnson. I think he's extremely valuable to this team. And you have to look at the contrary. If they trade Deontay Johnson, are you comfortable with George Pickens and Calvin Austin and a likely rookie or free agent being the top 3 as far as the receiver core goes? Not exactly. So yeah, that's just how I feel on that situation.
Here, I'm dropping that. I found it. I'm dropping that into the chat right now. Go read that. That's all I'm saying. Go read that. Numbers that back up when it comes to Deontay's after the catch stuff.
Yep.
So, yeah. It's just I don't understand, because again, you have people who will say to give Kenny another chance, right? You'll have people give Kenny another chance and want to see what he does under a new coordinator. But then some of those same people, not all of them, but some of those same people will be like, Deontay Johnson needs to be traded, capitalize on his value, all this kind of stuff. He's not productive enough. And then they'll point, well, he didn't score any touchdowns in 2022. Well, again, there's a lot of reasons why you think that Deontay didn't produce. You either don't think he was a good enough receiver or it was the coordinator. But if it was because he wasn't a good enough receiver, then you got to kind of say the same thing about Kenny Pickett, because Kenny Pickett ain't throwing touchdowns either. Yep. So it's and so see, there you go. I mean, Brian says it right here. DJ seems way overpaid for a mere 5 touchdowns. Okay, Kenny Pickett should be throwing way more than 13 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. What are his numbers right now? Pull that up. I can't do this right now.
Go ahead, do your thing. We're gonna check. We're gonna finish with that point and then check out of here pretty soon. A reminder: DK and Ramon
Kenny Pickett threw 6 touchdowns last year. 6. That's not even one. That's a half a touchdown a game. Mm-hmm. Come on. You can't say that Deontay seems way overpaid for 5 touchdowns. And then I'm not saying you are, Brian, by the way. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying that if the slide against Deontay is that he's not productive enough, but then people are also want to give Kenny a chance and saying, well, let's see what he does with new coordinators. It's got to be one or the other. It can't be both. Yeah. Mike says I have an egg. No, I do too.
Is there an Eric Ebron on the market? I thought that's what you were going for. Kawhi Leonard. BJ says if Rudolph isn't signing, there is going to be a lot of distrust of the organization by the fans. Not necessarily. Mason Rudolph could be given everything in the kitchen sink by the Steelers, and he could still say no. That's very possible. It just depends on what he wants to do, and it depends on what other options teams offer him. I think like we have to keep in mind that there is a decision to be made by Mason Rudolph. It's not the Steelers' choice. The Steelers have made it clear. Their choice is they would have Mason Rudolph back. It's a matter of what Mason wants to do. So, yeah, I get it from the standpoint of, do the Steelers do enough to try to keep him? But also, does Mason want to come back? Does he re-sign here at the end of the day? So, Look, all this talk that we have about the quarterbacks, which is why we open the show with rumors, we end the show with rumors. Like, everybody and their grandmother is currently favored to be the Steelers quarterback for next year. That's not Kenny Pickett. So, we could sit here and speculate all we want, but the fact of the matter is the wheeling and dealing and all the talking will start next week at the Combine when Omar Khan and 31 other GMs convene in Indianapolis for a scouting event that also opens the door for some of these talks. So we'll be there for that. I will be there for that. Chris will be there in spirit, of course. And of course, we'll have plenty of coverage coming to DK Pittsburgh Sports.com.
Andy's a fun town, man.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. And like I said, I'm staying with my uncle, so I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
My final thought on this stuff is, like, listen, let's just, the one thing that I'm not going to do is try to push any kind of narrative, like somebody saying I'm trying to cover for Deontay, anything like that. I don't have a dog in the fight here. I'm not a Deontay Johnson fan. I'm not a Kenny Pickett fan. I'm not a Mason Rudolph fan. I'm here to give you the facts, and I'm here to give you a proper context that's not possibly inhibited by some sort of bias for being a fan. Like, if you don't like Deontay, or if you don't think Deontay, like somebody brought up, like how many touchdowns did Deontay score in 2022? The answer is 0. How many touchdowns did Kenny Pickett throw in 2022? 7. Right? The quarterback threw 7 touchdowns in how many games? Hold on. In 13 total games, 12 starts, 7 touchdowns. Like, that's terrible. But I'm not going to sit here and say that was 100% Kenny Pickett. I don't think that's 100% Kenny Pickett. Just like I don't think last year was 100% Kenny Pickett. I do think I am interested to see, no matter who is lining up, I'm interested to see what this offense does under an offensive coordinator who has actually had success in this league. Yep. It might not be the offensive coordinator that you wanted or that anybody else wanted, but it's a guy that has literally led a top 10 and then a top 5 offense in this league, and put Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to the absolute test in the AFC Championship game. Mm-hmm. So I am very interested to see that, whether that is Kenny Pickett at quarterback. If that's the guy, I'm interested to see what happens. And the Steelers have every right to see what happens with Kenny, whether I think he's the guy or not, because then you will have your answer. Okay, he didn't work in the Matt Canada system, and now he hasn't worked in the Arthur Smith system. We have our answer. Mm-hmm. That's it. Goodbye. Nice knowing you, Kenny. We'll see. So I'm curious to see that too, but I'm not going to tell you anything that's where I'm pushing a certain narrative. Just trust me on that one. Believe me, I have no narrative to push.
I'll keep this quick. Don't get due diligence or speculation or rumors confused with news. Just don't. I mean, just don't. Don't get them confused with news. Just because Omar Khan speaks to Ryan Poles next week, if that happens, that doesn't mean the Steelers are trading for Justin Fields. That is due diligence. That is checking in. That is the job of Omar Khan. That is the job. So if anybody reports next week, including myself, if we say, okay, he's speaking to Ryan Poles, that doesn't mean a trade for Justin Fields is happening within the hour. So just keep in mind, these are longitudinal processes. These are processes that take months to develop, weeks, months to develop. This isn't a day-to-day thing. Unless something drastic comes across Omar Khan's desk and Mike Tomlin's desk where they can't say no, then they won't say no. And oftentimes we get clarity on those situations. The next time Omar Khan or Mike Tomlin or somebody talks, it's, well, the Bears gave us something we couldn't refuse. Okay? So like when Chase Claypool's traded for, a second-round pick, all right, that's something the Steelers probably couldn't refuse, and it worked out for him. So like, let's just keep in mind, for as hot as the stove might be right now, and for how excited we are about the NFL Combine, for excited as we are about all of these events that are going to transpire over the next few months within building the 2024 and beyond Pittsburgh Steelers, keep in mind the difference between front office personnel doing their due diligence, between rumors, between what's happening, between what's actually going to happen versus actual news. There's a big difference between all of those. So just keep those in mind.
So I'm not saying this I really just one thing real quick. Brian here says Art Smith likes to run an outside zone, but Najee is terrible at that. I'm just going to drop this right here. I'm dropping this link. I'm dropping this link right here. This takes you to all of my Chalk Talk pieces on DKPittsburghSports.com. They are all free to read. You don't have to pay anything. I've got like 3 or 4 different stories in which I specifically look at numbers and how not only Najee runs, but how Jalen runs and where their strengths and weaknesses are. Outside zone is absolutely not a weakness for Najee Harris at all. It's just not, it's not. Like the numbers completely back it up. So go read some of that stuff. It's there again. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why Ben Johnson, Najee ran outside zone at Alabama. So, just go read some of that. Go read some of that stuff. Yes, he does need to turn up field a little bit more often, but the blocking's got to be better too. So, go read some of that stuff. It's all free. I actually have one on the Arthur Smith offense, and I kind of touch on that Najee and Jalen stuff in that one if I'm not mistaken. So
there you go.
Yeah.
All right,
go read.
We're on to Wednesday. He's
Facts,
Chris. I'm Corey. We're on to Wednesday. He's Chris. I'm Corey. This has been the Southside Beat. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.